And on to some other issue also that is of interest to public sector workers. You know, the Controller and Accountant General's Department had mentioned that no NIA card, no salaries by close of December. And they are maintaining that they will not back down on that December 1 deadline, giving public sector workers to get the Ghana card or forfeit their salaries. Now, it comes as the minority and the National Association of Graduate Teachers, as well as ICU, amongst others, are mounting pressure on government to review that particular deadline, insisting that the directive will help rid the public sector payroll of ghost names, fraud, amongst others. The Public Relations Officer at the Controller and Accountant General's Department, Safas Adusu, says government will not review the timeline. We'll get to hear from him shortly, but first, let's bring in the minority spokesperson on employment and social welfare, Dr. Kwabena Donko, who is raising red flags about that particular timeline.
Worker on the controller's payroll has a contract of employment. That contract of employment does not involve the production of a Ghana card. And therefore, if administratively we found out that using the Ghana card can help us prevent fraud, which nobody in Ghana wants, if it can help us administer the payroll more efficiently, which we all want, that is a good thing. However, the methodology must also serve the interest of workers. Do all workers have Ghana card now? For those who don't, they now have to go and pay above 200 to obtain a Ghana card. That is fine. And look at the short-term diktat. This is a total diktat in a 3-week period. And I believe it is unfair. The employee at Zabzigu, the employee at Kojobo, the Chamber, who has no Ghana card, cannot have a Ghana card within this period. And therefore, the Controller and Accountant General must leave some of these things, the engagement to elected officials, the Minister for Employment, there's the Minister for Finance, let them engage with organized, let them sensitize the population as to the need for this, and then we roll. But you don't issue a diktat and think because you are the Controller and Accountant body wish, even if it is that wish has a time period that is unreasonable.
Is it the case that you've heard from these public sector that they are unable to get this Ghana card, or is your view that there should be an extension of the deadline, or what exactly should it be?
That deadline is a misnomer. It's a poor start. Let the Minister for Employment, the Minister for Finance, and other elected officials, let them engage organized labor, let them engage other trade union representatives, let them engage the general public, sensitize us in sufficient time.
Well, the National Association of Graduate Teachers is also strongly opposing this directive. We're going to hear from President of the association, Angel Kabonu, who wants the Controller and Accountant General to retract this particular directive.
It is unacceptable for the government or the controller to tie anything at all to our salaries. As workers, there is a principle in labor relationship concerning compensation. Compensation is paid based on the work that you have done. Compensation is paid when there is injury to you in the job that you have done. Compensation is paid based on contractual agreement between the worker, which is expressed in the collective agreement. So you don't use the workers' compensation as a bait to push through policies. You discuss policies with workers and find ways and means of letting the workers understand the usefulness of the policy and getting them all on board, rather than coercing workers through force by the use of their salaries and threaten to push through policy by withholding workers' salary. You cannot do that, and that is unacceptable. This is not the first time this is done. Some time ago, they wanted to pay workers on the e-switch platform and threatened that any worker who fails to register with e-switch will not be paid. Workers will had to come out and complain and agitate against that for the policy to be withdrawn. And then they are doing the same thing with the Ghana card. Can they tell us the challenges that people have had in registering? A lot of people refused to vote, could not vote, because of the challenges they encountered when they went and registered for the Ghana card. In the Ghana card, you even have wrong spelling of names. Misapplication, birthdays, and so on and so forth have been wrongly imputed. So when you want to use, are you using the Ghana card to replace the staff identity card that the controller and accountant general is operating? So we don't accept this, and we want the controller and accountant general to withdraw the threat and engage workers within the confines of good labor practice.
So, Mr. Kabono, if I understand you, you do.
But it appears all these concerns are falling on deaf ears. The Controller and Accountant General's Department insists government will not review the timeline. We can hear from the Public Relations Officer of the Controller and Accountant General, Cephas Dosu.
I don't think we have made it any difficult for public sector workers to secure their cards. If I do recall, I think yesterday or so, I heard my colleague at the NIA, and among other things, he stated that they have about 34 registration centers and more were being added. So I think that NIA has positioned itself to be able to meet the demands of the of all. I just would wish that we would continue to urge each and every one to avail themselves and register and secure the card.
Let me ask you a concern that has strongly been raised by some of the workers, particularly the teacher unions, NATS and NAGRAT. So they say particularly that this is an independent fiat by the department. You have done 0 engagements with them.
I appreciate their concern, but we should also understand that the responsibility of protecting public purse is also on our neck. And I'm sure you also are aware that the issuance of the national identity card did not start from today. And so it is best that we all make an attempt to avail ourselves to secure the cards.
But your directive only came out this week.
Yes, it came out this week. But prior to this, for the past 4 months, Controller has been engaging public sector workers who have been involved in the nationwide training program for the HR and cost center validators. And we kept urging them that you need to sign on to the cards because we are in the process of aligning the two systems.
So having listened to the concerns raised already, do you intend extending the time? Because December 1st is just around the corner. We barely have 2 months.
Well, I think the first thing that we all need to do is that let's avail ourselves and attempt to register. If the deadline given comes up, we can then sit and review the system, review what the situations are, and if there's a need for us to make amends as far as the deadline is concerned, we would. But the e-letter just came out just this week. We have not even availed ourselves to see whether we could go through the process of registering for the cards. And we're only talking about the fact that the time is too short. I think we should first avail ourselves, register for the cards, then when the time is up, we can do a review and look at the way forward.
That's the PRO of the Accountant General's Department, Cephas Dosu there, sticking by that particular December 1 deadline that has been given to public sector workers. No Ghana card, no salary by December. Let me quickly bring in the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Mr. Bright Rekumprobe. We're grateful for the time here on the pulse, sir. So you've been hearing public sector workers. We've heard from some associations on this particular directives. We heard from the minority spokesperson on employment and labor, and then just this afternoon also the controller. It appears that the timeline is of concern to all these public workers, but the controller says that December 1 deadline will never be reviewed. Really, is there an intervention that the ministry will be bringing in all this?
Yes, good afternoon to you and to your cherished listeners. What will happen is that we will engage controller. In fact, yesterday, when this matter came up, my minister asked that I do a follow-up and give him a report. I spoke to controller personally. I think in principle, workers even don't disagree with what they want to do. Everybody is appreciative. Everybody wants to get identified. We all want to remove ghost names. We want to do things right. But the timing is what everybody complains. So I spoke to controller. He's amenable for us to engage. And then we look at it and have realistic timelines for this. So every worker should be rest assured that controller has indicated his readiness to let us engage. And then we look at the pros and cons of it. And I'm sure that if we bring in the leadership of the unions, we are likely to get a win-win situation where we can probably look at the extension of time.
But shouldn't this engagement didn't have to happen earlier before the controller came out with the directive for a December 1 deadline? Is it that nothing of the sort happened before the announcement?
Well, I think there's no need crying over spilled milk. It has already happened that the directive has come. We could go back and then sit with them and look at the concerns that have been raised. And then following that, we can make a better way forward.
So, what should workers then expect in terms of this extension of deadline, and when exactly will that engagement with these workers happen?
Well, today is Cabinet Day, so all the ministers to take very crucial decisions on this, i.e., the Minister for Finance, my Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, they all have to sit and do this. So let's look at, because of the urgency of it, I'm sure if not tomorrow, early next week, we'll do something and come out with a communique.
And you say that in your interaction with the Controller and Accountant General, they are amenable to an extension of this particular deadline?
Yes, yes.
To when do we know?
Oh, no, that I can't tell. We all have to meet and then look at it. But like I'm saying, he's very amenable to us to have a conversation around it and then have a better way around it.
But of course, this concern also is about availability of the card, being able to get the NIA card. Are we also in talks with the NIA? Because we know that now they're saying if you missed the mass registration, you ought to pay up to 250 Ghana cedis. Is there going to be a concession
at the
for
table,
these workers?
I'm sure some of these issues will come up. Because for us in the Labour Ministry, this matter got to our attention. The most important thing that worries everybody is the timeline. So when we meet and other consequential matters come up, we will look at it holistically and then be able to address them.
Okay, so that's the Deputy Minister. We are grateful for your time, Deputy Minister, Employment and Labour Relations Minister, Bright Rekumprobe there, speaking on that directive that has been given by the Controller and Accountant General's Department, insisting that the Controller and Accountant General is amenable to an extension of the particular deadline. We await how that will pan out. This is The Pulse here on the JoyNews channel. We'll take a quick break. We're right back.